Today, I'm going to give you not one, not two, not three,
not four, not five, not six,
but 7 different players that you should look to add in your fantasy football league. Now, obviously, you're not going to add all of these. You're probably like the millions of us who have like 1 or 2 spots on our bench that we're like, about after our drafts. Now, some of y'all probably just killed it in your draft and you're like, this is not for me. If you killed it in your draft and your team is stacked and there's no need to add anyone, then fine, whatever. We're going to give you 7 different players that you should look to add on your team.
Is there any more coffee?
I'm going to break this down by league size. 8-team, 10-team, 12-team league. Number 1, if you are in an 8-team league, the number 1 player you need to pick up, as I have said on Substack, as I have said on Reddit, and as I've said multiple times on this podcast and in many other mediums, is you need to add Chuba Hubbard. Why do you need to add Chuba Hubbard? Because he is in a Dave Canales offense. Now listen, he was only 43% owned after draft day. He is all the way up to 62.8% owned. So if you want him, you'd better hurry. Hubbard last season, you may think he was a scrub. The whole Panthers lineup was scrubs. It was a horrible run organization, horrible coaching, etc. But he was a workhorse. He actually ranked 11th in running back touches last year with 277. And you might argue, as they did on Reddit, he wasn't really particularly efficient with those touches. Well, guess what? The Bucs were nearly last in all categories last year with Canales as offensive coordinator. Yes, super inefficient, but the volume makes up for it. The volume makes up for it because guess who had more touches than him and nearly anyone else in the league? It's Rachaad White. He had almost 20 touches a game. Where does top 5, even inefficient touches get you? And I'm thankful for Fantasy Pros for this. It gets you as number 4 overall running back. So if you want to say he was inefficient, that's fine. Rachaad White was inefficient. Dave Canales ran an inefficient offense, but guess what he also ran? He ran a high volume offense. You must add Chuba Hubbard to your league. You have to make the playoffs to win your league. The first month of the season is actually key to making the playoffs. This is according to Matt Harmon and Andy Behrens of Yahoo. If you start your season at 1-2, you only have a 39% chance of making the playoffs. If you start 0-3, you have a 16% chance of making the playoffs. If you start 1-4, it's only a 10% chance. If you're 0-5, you have a 2% chance. But on the flip side, if you start 3-0, you have an 85% chance of making your playoffs. If you went 0 RB or hero RB, he is the guy you need to add more than anybody else if he's still out in your league, no matter what league size. But he should be available in an 8-team league. 10 and 12, you're probably out of luck. Player number 2 that you should add in your league is Khalil Shakir of the Buffalo Bills. He is only owned in 47.3% of leagues. That is absolutely ridiculous. Why should you add him? They lost between Gabe Davis and that other guy. Oh yeah, Steph Diggs, the guy who has been the alpha for years. They lost more than 240 targets.
What?
Where does that leave us? Who's his competition? James Cook will get more looks? Sure. Dalton Kincaid will get more looks. And Curtis Samuel's brought in, but that's still going to leave a huge chunk for him. I'm expecting 100 plus targets for him. I'm expecting him to be in flex consideration every week with even more potential as the pass catcher in a Josh Allen-led offense that made significant changes and targeted the middle of the field and a short passing game more so after the bye week when Joe Brady took over. You need to add Shakir to your team. All right, now, if you're in a 10-team league, who should you add? 2 names. I'm going to give you Josh Palmer. And you may say, wait a second.
What am I doing?
The Chargers aren't going to throw the ball that much. And you're going to tell me that they're not going to, do their basically first round draft pick, Ladd McConkey? No. I'm saying Josh Palmer. Here's why. Only owned in 37.5% of leagues. He showed flashes last year. He's the most experienced guys in the room. It takes a while for rookies to get started. And I think the demise of Justin Herbert and Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh might be a little bit exaggerated.
I don't know what we're yelling about! Loud noises!
Here's why. Last time that Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh were in the same room, right, in San Francisco, their pass rate over expected was negative 1%. You think that's bad, but there's other teams that matched or were below that in 2023. The Eagles, the Bucks, the Texans, the Rams, and the Lions. The Lions had a pass rate over expected of negative 4%. That means they ran the ball 4% of the time where you think they should have passed it. So these are kind of ways of saying like it's not quite as bad depending on the game script. Their defense still not elite. They're going to be trailing, and this is the best quarterback as far as pure passer that Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman have ever had. No disrespect to Lamar or any of that. 10-team league part 2. Someone to pick up Rico Dowdle. He's only owned in 35.4% of fantasy leagues on ESPN. Zeke is washed, plain and simple. Zeke will get a lot of the goal line work and the third down work, yes. Dalvin Cook is washed. He's not explosive. So who does that leave to give the ball? Let's do some looks, shall we? The Cowboys lost nearly 300 touches when Tony Pollard left. 300. Let's here zoom in. 252 carries, gone. 55 receptions, gone. Over 300 touches. You say that opens up a little bit for Zeke. Yes and no. Remember, Zeke looked washed last year. Rico Dowdle was the only one who actually might have some juice.
Wow.
Let's look at the red zone splits for the Cowboys. Tony Pollard had 57 attempts in the red zone. Rico Dowdle had 15 and had 2 touchdowns on it. So you think, okay, maybe he'll get more touches. Maybe so. Inside the 5, 16-4. And yet, 16 touches for Pollard, 2 touchdowns, 4 touches for Dowdle, 2 touchdowns. I think Zeke will take the majority of those, but there is a chance that Rico Dowdle gets, maybe 6 to 8 touches. He's a player I'm looking at to potentially take that Tony Pollard role and split it out more 50-50. It's going to be a heavy pass offense. No denying that. Here's a chance to pick up an explosive player on a great offense. 12-team leagues plus. These are guys that are going to be deep, deep, deep value here. Number 1, Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson is the 3rd wide receiver on the Los Angeles Rams, but look how he closed the season. So this is weeks 12 through 17 last year, the end of the season. He ranks 12th. Last 5 weeks, he had 15, 13, 14, 20, and 13 points per game. Stafford was hot at the end of the season. You had Kupp, Nakua, and Robinson running in that 11 personnel. The dude's going to get looks. You also have 2 injury-prone players above him in Kupp. And Nakua is a physical wide receiver, meaning he's got a higher propensity for injuries.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Give me Robinson as someone you want to pick up in a 12-team or a deep league, maybe even a 10-team depending on your depth, someone who has the potential to be a flex starter every week. Running back, Jaylen Wright, only owned in 23% of leagues. What are we looking for when we're picking up off of waivers? What we're looking for in backups is someone who has the potential to get us there. We're not looking for someone who, can maybe do some stuff. Man, if you're going to go and swing for the fences. Jaylen Wright has great speed. He has a great offense, and he has injury-prone starters in front of him. What's not to love? The Dolphins love running the ball. The Lions, 49ers, and Dolphins were tied for most rushing touchdowns in 2023 with 27. They were 6th in yards as a team. They were 1st in yards per carry. This is a great offense. Mostert was healthy last season, but that's not been the norm for him, and he's not getting any younger. Achane was awesome, but he also has an injury history. He's undersized, and he seems to be better with limited touches. Give me Jaylen Wright as someone who could potentially be a long-term league winner if there is an injury in front of him.
Let's dominate today. All right, let's dominate today.
And number 7, give me Ray Davis in a deep league. He's only owned in 14% of fantasy leagues, but he fits the scheme. And they lost 30 attempts inside the red zone. So here's the deal with the Bills. They love James Cook from the 20 to the 20. Once they get inside the red zone, there's opportunity for Ray Davis to have a very impactful season. Let's look at these splits. So this is inside the 20. James Cook led him with 29, but you lose 30 carries inside the 20 that are available. Now let's do something else. Let's go inside the 5. Look at that. James Cook only 4 carries. Latavius Murray, 12 attempts. Now, his touchdown percentage was not great, with only 4 of those 12. But this is a huge opportunity for Davis to get that workload. Why? Because inside the 5, who's getting the carries? It's Josh Allen. He had 14 attempts inside the 5 and 8 touchdowns. Josh Allen leads the team inside the 5 carries. Second was Latavius Murray with 12. James Cook with 4. You have huge potential upside in Davis. And obviously, if anything happens to Cook, you would have a future RB1. He's one where if I have James Cook in my league, I am picking up Davis because of there's very few people who look for a like replacement and really fit the scheme. And he's more of the power runner who fits the scheme. Love him there. Davis is the power back. Love it. Bonus time. Here's someone you should probably look at in any league. So let's assume for a second that you have a starting quarterback that you really like, but you don't really have a backup that you like. Maybe your backups options are Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, whatever. Players who are fine but not great. You want to win your league. That is the goal, is to win the whole thing. And then here is the player that you need to pick up if you want to win the whole thing. It's Justin Fields forever. Let's go back to Justin Fields' last season as a full-time starter. He finished at quarterback 6 overall after an incredibly slow start. After week 5, he was 3rd in points per game, only behind Pat Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. He was ahead of Josh Allen. This included 40-point performances and 7 performances over 20 points. Obviously, what you're going to say is he's behind Russell Wilson. He's not even the starter. Yes, but by the time he gets to the start, it'll be too late. So maybe you don't love your starting quarterback. Maybe you don't love your backups. And maybe you have a roster spot just itching for a potential league winner. Justin Fields is the way to go at quarterback. No one else on the waiver wire has a 40-point game potential. No one else on the waiver wire has a 30-point game potential. He is the only guy on the waiver wire who can take you to glory if he starts getting the ball in his hands, which I expect probably after week 4. But by the time he's named the starter, if you're not first on the waivers, you're not getting him. Get him now before the season starts, before it gets too late. All right, everyone. Good luck in week 1. Enjoy your coffee break.